Welcome back to the channel with me, Dr. Vivian Atud. It's always a pleasure having you on my channel. Today, we are talking about something that will help you skyrocket your success, help you move you from where you are, and it is the basics. And I'm going to be doing a 5-part series on who are you. So today, we are starting with the introduction to this series, and I want us to focus on knowing yourself, the key to success. When we go back to the good book, like I always do, and there are many, countless examples, whether you look at biblical examples, you look at real life examples of people who have struggled in life with who they are. When we look at the book of Genesis and we look at the guy there, Joseph, this guy is born into a family at a time where all young Jewish boys are being killed. And the mother tries to hide this guy for a few months. And when she realized, I can't do this anymore, she takes this young guy and go and put him in a river. This guy gets adopted into an Egyptian family. So born as a Jew, raised as an Egyptian, and he grows up and he begins to grapple with his identity. At one point, he realized, because raised in an Egyptian home by his own very mother. So obviously from childhood, he's been taught some of the Jewish things. And he's growing and thinking at one point, I am an Egyptian, I am a prince of this kingdom. And at another point, he's thinking about the things that he's been raised. And as a young adult, he starts trying to identify himself first as a Jew. Then he realized that no, these people don't want me. These people start thinking about him, the incident where he kills an Egyptian in trying to identify himself with the Jews. Then at another point, he realized that no, my identity is so confusing. Then he runs away. Have you ever wondered why you struggle to succeed? Why things feel so off? Maybe it's because you have not discovered your true self. So, in today's episode, we are going to dig deep into some key 5 points that can help you identify yourself, because that is the beginning of your success. So, the first lesson number one, or key point number one, it's knowing your true identity. Who are you? Knowing your true identity. The good book in the book of Genesis tells us, and God asks Adam, where are you? I mean, where are you? This meant more than a physical question, because guess what? God knows everything. He knew exactly physically where Adam was. He was in the garden, he was hiding. But this guy was in a state where, whether you looked at it physically, whether you looked at it mentally, whether you looked at it spiritually, he was in a state of confusion. Where are you? When you begin to understand, where am I physically? Where am I emotionally? Where am I mentally? Where am I spiritually? If you don't know where you are in any of these areas, sometimes you keep struggling, and until you begin to identify um some of your spiritual weaknesses, some of your areas where you are. Think about, who am I outside of what people expect of you? Sometimes people keep clapping at you or clapping for you. Sometimes people give you job titles, you go to work and you are really struggling. Sometimes people keep pushing you beyond who you feel you are inside. When we look at what we see today, sometimes you even struggle with your personal values because there's so much pressure coming from outside. But when you really want to move forward in life, you need to be able to identify, who are you? Where am I spiritually? Where am I physically? Where am I emotionally? Where is my mental health? Because when you begin to identify your core identity as a visionary, as someone created in the image of God, as someone who has value, who has seed. The Bible says in the book of Genesis, it says he created them in his own image. In his image, he created them male and female, and he gave you the power to come and dominate the area where he has created you to be. So when you begin to identify yourself as a visionary, as someone who is created to occupy a specific space, then you begin to carry yourself in that way. And that is one of the points that pushes you forward. Because when you struggle with your identity, when you struggle, I mean, when we look at the example I quoted of Adam in the garden, he had to hide because this guy was confused after things have happened in his life, and he realized that, oh my goodness, I don't know who I am anymore, and I don't know what's happening to me anymore. I mean, if you begin to pause and think about it, you realize that this guy starts hiding himself. Why? Because he is grappling with his identity. So we need to be able to know, discover your true identity, discover who you are beyond what society wants to push you to be. So the next thing that we need to do in this process of knowing yourself, the key to success is, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my weaknesses? I mean, Paul says to the church in Corinth, he says, I boast in my weaknesses because they allow God's power to be made perfect in me. I boast in my weaknesses because I know there are certain things I struggle with. What are my struggles? You know, we've lived now in a world, whether you're looking about social media, talking about different things, people have been so packaged that sometimes people are scared to accept vulnerability. This is me. I'm weak in this. I'm struggling here. And sometimes we all on stage, we all acting, and you don't know really who you are, and you are struggling inside. And that's why in other parts Paul was saying, there are things I want to do, but I struggle to do them. The things I don't want to do, I find myself, I mean, you know your weaknesses. Sometimes you are struggling. I mean, you are busy on social media. You know you should not be there. You are busy doing things that you should not be doing. I mean, when you look at practically, the only way you move yourself forward, pause for a moment and do what, I mean, we talk about SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the things that are able, I mean, what are your opportunities in life? What are those opportunities? What are those threats? What are those things that are acting against you? You need to, if you want to move yourself forward beyond knowing your identity and the things that struggling with identity and knowing who you are created, the core values that you hold, the next thing is to identify, what are your strengths? What are you good at? We all good at something. What are you good at? What do you do? I mean, what do you do without struggle? What are you good at? That's you. What are your weaknesses? We all struggling with one thing or the other. I mean, some people's demons or weaknesses are your eating habits, your sleep habits. I mean, how you spend your time. Sometimes you just have a weakness of time management, and these things will draw you back. When you begin to look at what are these weaknesses, what are my opportunities, what are the doors that are opening. Opportunities are just those doors, those things that can help you to begin to move forward. What are those doors? What are the threats, the things that are acting against me? So when you spend time to understand yourself, know your strength, what you are good at, know your weaknesses, the things that keep pulling you back when you want to move forward, know your opportunities, the doors that are set open ahead of you that can move your personal life, move your business forward. And what are the threats? What are the things that if you don't watch out for, you would keep turning around in circles in your personal life, in your business life. So you need to be aware. Spend time to look at this. We all fighting one demon or the other at a particular time. There are things that I wake up sometimes. I struggle. And every day I tell you sometimes before I come on air on my channel, I pray, I ask for confidence, because sometimes I doubt myself. I'm like, am I gonna be able to do this? Do I have the capability to do this? And when you do that, you know your identity, your values, what you what your core beliefs are. The next thing you know, your strengths and your weaknesses, so that you can captivate on your strength and you can see how to deal with your weaknesses. The next point, number 3, in understanding yourself and pushing yourself to success, is what is your God-given purpose? We are not here by mistake. I don't care. Some people, it doesn't matter whether your mom was raped and then you were the result of that. It doesn't matter whether they never wanted you anyway, and people have been telling you. It doesn't matter whether, oh, you were that ideal child that they all thought. You were here, you were born, and you are born, and you are here for a purpose. What is your God-given purpose? The Bible says, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. God has a unique purpose for each and every one of us. Some of us are born to speak, to motivate. Some of us are born to tell stories. Some of us are born to write books. Some of us are born to become engineers. Some of us are born to do different things. Some of us are born to serve in community, serve in your church, serve in your families. Some of us are born to finance different businesses. You are born for a specific reason. Don't undermine your purpose in life, and don't undermine why you are here. You need to be able to ask yourself, what are my skills? What are my passions? What am I good at? Because those skills, those passions, those things, guess what? I started reciting memory verses in primary school, in preschool. I started doing all that. When I went to school at university, I knew I wanted to do journalism. So that was my first call. I just knew that public speaking, inspiring someone, talking to someone, was just a part of me. And when we look at the story of Moses, I go back to Moses. This guy was born to be a visionary leader. This guy was born to lead a generation or a nation in a season of difficulty. But guess what? His natural limitation or weaknesses, he was a stammer. He had a problem with speech, and to him, this was going to stop him, or this was a limiting factor for him to realize his purpose. And when God said to him, hey boy Moses, this is your season to shine. This is your season to arise to your purpose, to your calling. And I am sending you to go and deliver my people from their bondage in Egypt. And the guy was like, hey God, are you talking to the guy next door? Are you talking to the guy next to me? Come on, God, look for someone. I don't have speech. He gave one excuse after the other. Who will I tell these people sent me? When God said, oh, tell them that I am sent you. And it's like, oh God, what if they don't believe me? And God, please, I don't have speech. I struggle. You can see I'm a stammer. And God tell him, I have resources. Your brother will be your spokesman. Go with him and you are going to fulfill your purpose. Because guess what? Your God-given purpose will be fulfilled if you embrace it, irrespective of your weaknesses. Irrespective of your weaknesses. Because guess what? If that is what God has purpose for you, it doesn't matter your weaknesses. God is going to raise the right resources, the right people, just like he did for Moses, and he raised his own brother Aaron, and he says, you're going to do this not all by yourself, but together with your brother Aaron, you are going to do this. So have confidence, embrace that God-given purpose. You've got it in you. When God's created you in Genesis, get what he said. He said, this was very good. You are very good. Your purpose is very good. It doesn't matter how many times you've tried and failed. I mean, guess what? I think Moses, a part of him might have told him in his young age that actually you are born to deliver your people. And guess what? His first attempt at trying to save the people of Israel, I mean, when he saw an Israelite being maltreated by an Egyptian, he went there and tried. Guess what? He killed the Egyptian in trying to save his people. But guess what? He wasn't equipped. And that is why sometimes, even in embracing your purpose, there is a process. There is a process. And he had to escape Egypt, and he went to Midian for what? 40 years. There is a process of building and birthing you, the real you. And that's why sometimes in embracing your purpose, you might need to go to school. I mean, you might be born to become a doctor. Guess what? If you never go to medical school, you are never going to embrace that purpose. You might be born to become a nurse, and you don't go to nursing school. How are you going to practice it? You might be born. So embracing your purpose sometimes might require that you need to develop certain skills, certain capabilities, certain networks, certain things that will enable you to become that which you are called to be. Confidence in your calling. It's the fourth point I want you embrace confidence once you know yourself, once you identify your weaknesses, and you are willing to embrace your opportunities and deal with the threats. I mean, when you embrace your God-given calling, that might mean go back to school, go training. Moses embraced his calling. He went back to school. He went to Midian. He learned certain things being a shepherd boy before he became a leader. So point number 4, confidence in your calling. Confidence in your calling. Sometimes your calling comes with challenges. Your calling comes with challenges. You might be living in an era where there is segregation. I mean, talk about all parts of the world, whether you talk about gender segregation, sexual segregation. I mean, all kinds of things that we see in the world of today that we have to deal with. But confidence in your identity and your mission will attract what? Opportunities. I mean, there are many entrepreneurs. Ask the founder of Spanx and other brands how people deal with rejection. I mean, think about, you've written your best proposal and you take it. I mean, in my personal business life, I mean, when you write proposals and you go to pitch your proposal and you get the fancy, I call it love letter, coming back to you and saying, oh, we appreciate your time, we appreciate your effort, we see exactly the kind of contributions, but we are sorry to tell you that we have decided to go with another provider, and they tell you reasons why they could not go ahead with your proposal, whether it's a proposal to provide a service or for funding or anything, or you're pitching your best idea. I mean, you've written a story and you think that, oh, this is gonna do good, this is gonna do good, and you go pitching it out and no one is looking at it. It's okay. It doesn't mean that they have to look at it. Maybe you just knock in the wrong door. So confidence in knowing that if this is my right calling, irrespective of the feedback I get from certain people, I need to be able to keep pressing on. Sometimes you just need to write down the things you are confident about and keep developing those things and keep working on those things, because guess what? As many doors as they are shutting to you, there is a door out there for you. I mean, I always go back to the story of the sower. I mean, think about this guy sowing seed, and if he sowed seeds and the seeds that fell on the path, and he said, oh my goodness, business is just hectic. It doesn't work for me. I have put my seed, and guess what? The birds have eaten everything, and he packs his bag and he goes home. What would have happened to that story? I mean, that story has a happy ending. Why? They said this guy sowed seeds, and the seed fell on the path, and he couldn't, he lost everything. Think about a business that you invest, you lost everything, your capital, your investment, and everything. The birds just ate all his seeds. He went again and sowed seeds. They fell on what fund, on shallow ground. I mean, you are pitching a business opportunity and it's like, oh, people are agreeing. Oh, it seems they are listening. They're like, wow, tell us more. This sounds like music to my ears. And you're busy telling them this is how this thing. And the next day you go for a follow-up call and no one is picking, or they're telling you they keep postponing, there is no follow-up meeting, and you're like, wow, this is like a waste of my time. And other businesses, that guy put the thing on shallow ground, the seeds on shallow ground, and they start growing, and he's excited. Oh, I'm going to make business. I'm going to do business with these guys. And after a while, nothing, no further response. And guess what? He kept sowing seeds. He went and sowed again. It went on thorny bushes. I mean, people have their own issues. Businesses, people have their priorities. They have things they are looking at. And he's sowing the seeds, and he's getting excited that business is going to happen and things are moving. And he's moved this project from one level to another, and he's estimating, oh, I could get this kind of revenue if this business moves, if it expands, if this happens, this deal, I have landed this contract, it's moving like this. And guess what? The Bible says, as the thing starts growing, what happens? The thorns, the choke, and everything. People have their own priorities, and sometimes you are not their priorities. It doesn't mean that your world ends there. Your world ends there. And guess what? The thing choked this guy's business idea and everything, and he loses again. Guess what? He kept sowing seeds, and he said some of the seeds now that he sowed, they did what? They fell on fertile ground, and they gave him what? The harvest, some 34. Think about 30% profit, some 60-fold, 60% profit, 100-fold, 100% profit. So get that confidence in your calling, knowing that when people don't take no for an answer, put it simple, don't take no for an answer. It could be no for now. They say no. Say, okay, can I call you again in a year? Yeah, I mean, you pitch an idea and they say, can I call you next week? Can I call you another suitable time? Or maybe you just knock next door. And this is what happened to this guy. And before he knew it, his confidence grew, because there became a time when he realized that now his seeds are falling on what? Fertile ground. And the other thing is, in business, in personal life, point number 5, it's that you need to always pause and do what I call self-reflection. Self-reflection, continuous self-reflection, self-improvement. If we don't take time at the end of the day, at the end of the week, to reflect on yourself, the Bible says in the book of Proverbs 27 and in verse 19, as water reflects the face, so one's life reflects what? The heart. Where am I spiritually? Where am I emotionally? Where am I mentally? Where am I in terms of developing my personal capabilities that can help me become everything that I need to be? That self-reflection, it gives you that time to regularly check yourself and maintain growth. I mean, the world is changing. I mean, if you're not yet using AI, you are more than years behind in your business. If you are not using certain technologies, so reflecting yourself. I mean, knowing where you are in different areas. Sometimes you might just need a break. Sometimes you might need to slow down in order to push yourself forward. Sometimes you might need to speed up, because when you start reflecting on yourself, you do proper self-reflection, you will see where you are. You will see the things that are holding you back. I mean, you need to begin to look at what are some of the practical tools that can help you. Maybe just journaling every day. Maybe looking at your areas. Where am I growing? Am I aligning to my purpose, to myself? Am I embracing myself? Because this thing of self-reflection will help you sometimes to slow down, help you sometimes to to speed up, help you sometimes to develop new opportunities, help you sometimes to develop new networks, and help you to push your purpose forward. Because the moment you start doing self-reflection, you start realizing exactly where you are and what you need to do to push yourself forward. So I hope you begin to take at least 15 minutes every day. Take time every day to reflect on, to do some self-reflection. Take time to see where you are. Take time to journal if need be, if that is your thing. Share comments, share comments. If you are new to our channel, I hope this has been inspiring. We cannot move forward in life if you don't know yourself, if you don't know your identity, if you don't know your strengths, your weaknesses, if you don't know your God-given purpose. I don't care whether you want to develop a product, whether you want to develop a service, whether you want to sell, grow an audience. You need to know yourself. You need to know, what am I good at? Whatever it is you want to move forward in life, realizing your purpose, succeeding, you need to be able to do these things, understanding yourself, understanding your values, understanding your weaknesses, understanding your God-given purpose. I mean, gaining confidence in yourself, growing confidence, and confidence comes when you actually are able to reflect on yourself and see where you are and see what you need to improve on. So your journey to success starts with knowing yourself. Start with knowing yourself. I hope this has been inspiring to you. I hope you remain connected. If you are new to our channel, subscribe, enable notification. That will continue to help us when we develop new topics. You would be number one to know. So thank you for joining me on the channel this day, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, be good.